Welcome back to Mary's Cooking Omelettes. What? I know. Look, I know it seems a little bit simple, but I'ma let you in on a secret. It is pretty simple actually, but a lot of people don't know the art of making a delicious omelette, and I'm going to show you my way. Might not be the right way, but it sure as heck is delicious. All right. Okay, let me tell you, it's Saturday morning. This is my first coffee of the day, which I did just make for myself. I'm missing going out and buying coffee, I'm telling you. But anyway, here we are. I've got my coffee in hand. I'm about to make my sweet Richard an omelette. Yes, it's very 1950s housewife of me, but I love making breakfast for us, and this is one of his favorites. So you're gonna need a couple of eggs, a little bit of butter. Now, everything after this point is optional. Personally, I think you'd be mad to not put cheese in an omelette, but some people out there make their omelettes with only the whites of the egg. I'm choosing to use some shredded cheese and a tiny little bit of goat's cheese. A few rashers of streaky bacon. Some Tuscan kale from my garden. Some basil also from my garden. A couple of lovely mushrooms not from my garden. A small onion and a lovely, delicious, squishy, bright red tomato. Apart from that, we've got these little treasures. Sandra and Peter, salt and pepper. Okay, now listen. There are some fundamental rules with omelettes. One of them is that you use eggs, obviously. But also just, listen, it is easier if you want a really quick omelette, you know, plain old ham and cheese, something like that. You do the egg bit first and then you add your ingredients. But because I'm making a deluxe, delicious, Richard's all-time favourite omelette today, I'm starting off by frying my onion and my bacon. But I'm gonna have to do that, oh, and my mushrooms. But I'm gonna have to chop them first, so let's get chopping. Cut up this little guy. I don't like a lot of onion in my breakfast food. So, you know, just a little guy's good. It's better to not be wasteful if we can. She says, taking off half the onion. I have always loved breakfast as a meal. Well, maybe not when I was a child, but I did. Mum used to do these dippy eggs with soldiers, where you dip your little toast soldiers in your egg. I loved that. But yeah, I'm a big fan of breakfast. And my favourite breakfast to make at home really is the omelette, because it's so darn quick and very tasty. If you're in a big group, you can make a really huge one if you've got a nice big non-stick pan and divide it up amongst everyone. Or you can do lots of little individual ones for people. Not everyone's a fan of the omelette, but then again, not everyone's a fan of anything. So all you haters, you just watch along and learn some lovely tips. All right, I've got my onion going. Beautiful. I'm going to get my little board with my sweet little piggy wiggy. Obviously, you don't have to put meat in this. Sometimes I like to make what I call brinner. You might be quite familiar with the term brinner. One of my best friends in Sydney, Lara, she's a big fan of brinner, which means breakfast for dinner, of course. Now, if you're making a brinner omelette, I can highly recommend leftover barbecue chicken, a bit of cheese, mushroom. Oh, such a good combo. And a bit of spinach if you want to add some greens in there. Okay, I have finally chopped up my bacon, and if you want to, you can chop it up a little bit more. I know I've actually chopped up quite a lot here. I might not use it all. We'll see how we go. When I'm making these for Richard and I at home, I pile them up high, but it is harder to make that omelette do exactly what it should if it's too full. Okay, so I'm going to actually grab a little bit of butter and I'm going to pop him in my wonderful, this pan is the perfect pan for many things, but it is a perfect omelette size pan. Thank you, Sandra, my mother, for getting me this pan. We don't want a huge heat, just enough to melt that butter. Okay, I'm going to move my bacon over here. This Tuscan kale is out of our own garden. We're very excited to have a little crop, a little harvest this year. I know there's a lot of people out there who just associate kale with being a superfood and not something tasty, and definitely not something that you would want to put in a decadent, delicious deluxe omelette. But I'm telling you now, you've got to try kale fried in butter. Yep, I have somehow managed to make a healthy superfood sound very unhealthy, but it's actually not unhealthy at all. And I really believe in the power of butter and kale, and I will sing it to the treetops. Obviously, you need to give your kale a really good wash if it's come out of your own garden, not to get the chemicals off, just to get the bugs off. I'm going to do that now. And then I'm going to use this little knife because my big knife just got used on bacon, and this is a better knife for chopping veggies sometimes, these smaller little sharp dudes. All right, and I'm just gave him a little bit of a shred. Pop him over there. All right, I'm going to check on my butter. Yeah, he's ready. Swirl him around in the pan. Going to add in my bacon. Ooh, hear that sizzle. Yum. Going to add in my onion. And heck, I'm going to add in my kale. All in together like a one big happy family in there. Here's a hot tip. If you are frying up a bit of kale in butter, bit of salt and pepper, oh, so good. And also a lovely side if you're just making scrambled eggs and you want something to go with it. Kale's the way to go. All right. Moving along, we've got to get these little guys quickly into the pan as well. And into the pan. And turn that pan down a little bit. If you put the mushrooms in first, they'll soak up all the butter and none of the other ingredients will get any of it. So I've chucked them in afterwards. Sometimes when I'm being extra decadent, I'll chuck in a bit of extra butter with the mushrooms because mushrooms love butter. And I am going to put a little bit of salt and pepper in at this point. You don't need much salt for this recipe because bacon is salty. Take my tomato. I'm only going to use one. I'm even going to use the little one. And I like to chop it up nice and small. And I like to get my other ingredients ready while those ones are cooking up. Because when it comes to actually cooking the egg, it cooks quite quickly and you want to have everything on hand and ready to go so you don't overcook anything. On our shout out board today, we have a beautiful Eirlys. She is a gorgeous young woman in Sydney who used to be one of my singing students many, many years ago. She has the most incredible voice and she has been in lockdown with her parents and she has been cooking for them a lot, like a lot. She's also been doing painting and all kinds of other creative things. I love it. I endorse it. I'm chopping up some of this beautiful basil, and when I say beautiful, I mean it's definitely at the end of its life. But I got it out of the garden, so that's good. Back to Eirlys. She is a fantastic chickie and she has been making like nearly everything. I don't think she's tried any of the big meat dishes yet, but she has absolutely hammered out the soup and the muffins, and yeah, well done Eirlys. Shout out to you, girl. All right, I'm going to just check on my things that are frying and give them a little turn. Yummy. Onion and bacon together frying is just a delicious smell. And if you are trying to lure people out of their bedrooms first thing in the morning, I'm telling you now, this is the way to go. Now that your mixture is nearly ready, you're going to need 2 bowls. Into one bowl, you want to crack your eggs. Woo! 1, 2, free range eggs, please people, please. And you could use a whisk, but I'm not fancy. Yum Town, population me. All right. Yummy. Look at all that deliciousness in there. Let it waft up my nostrils. All right. So this is a non-stick pan. It's not going to stick, but you know, if you're a little bit worried about it, add a tiny bit more butter. If not, keep going on with your life as though I never said that. And I want to also let you know, do not have your stovetop on a really high heat. You want the egg to cook, but you really don't want it to like sizzle up straight away and then like just be like an old tough old shoe. Your butter's in the hot pan on a medium heat, and now we add in the egg. And we sort of make it go over to the edges all nicely. Cheese all over. Doesn't matter if the egg's not cooked yet. In fact, preference is while the egg is still cooking, cheese. And you know what? If you go right to the edges, you get a really yummy little crust, which is delicious. Told you this was decadent. Cheese over the whole thing. Next, you want to add in your topping. And you can add in as much or as little as you want. And I'd like you to just keep in mind that you only put it on half, because this is one of those omelettes where we do a little bit of a flippy trick. And look, to be honest, if I was here making this normally for Richard, I'd put the whole lot on there, but I'm going to try and keep it a bit neater for you this morning. I actually like to mix the basil and the tomato through together. Gets a, sort of this lovely fresh bruschetta sort of flavour to it, and I often will put a little dash of salt and pepper on that too, because I'm telling you now, tomato freaking loves salt and pepper. If you've got an avocado, I'd chuck it in at that point too. But look, you've probably already got quite enough ingredients. All right, we're going to go over and add this on top. I like to leave this, and this is a personal choice, I like it to leave it till the end because I don't really love cooked tomato. I like it to still have a bit of bite, a bit of tang. All right, and why not bring our goat's cheese, because goat's cheese and basil, perfect union. Come on over. I'm not pretending to make a traditional omelette, I'm just making what we love in our house. And that is this guy. Okay, and then I'm going to add some little blobs of goat cheese because they add this yummy little salty, creamy bite to it. Don't need too much. There we go. This guy, you need one of these. Just going to give it a couple more minutes, but if you look underneath, actually that might break it, so we won't do that. I have this weird fear that my omelette is going to fall to pieces, even though I make this pretty much every day with varying degrees of falling to piece success. I feel like today might be one of those days. I just want you to go with me on the journey. No judgment. We get underneath. Oh, he's a full one. Oh no. I've overfilled him. Oh, far out. Oh no. So normally, yeah, I totally overfilled this guy, but doesn't he look yummy anyway? It's not as pretty as I wanted it to be. It is going to taste phenomenal. I'm actually going to just try and flip it upside down for you. Oh. Normally, ladies and gentlemen, we would just slide it off onto the plate, but because I want it to look pretty, I'm going to do... Oh yes! That is why I'm the queen of the kitchen. Sorry, that was a little moment of joy for me. Look, it does look a little bit brown. Look, Richard does like it like this because you've got, come on in, zoom on in. There's a lovely little cheese crust around here. It's going to taste amazing. Of course, a little bit of salt and pepper at the end. I've popped on a very tiny token amount of parsley just to make it look pretty. Let's cut into it. So many delicious things. I'm going to have a bite. This is Richard's breakfast, but I'm still going to have a bite. It's hot. Can you really beat though, like crunchy melted cheese, bacon, onion? I actually really think that Richard might have to share this. Probably should have used 3 eggs. It's delicious.